What is up, everybody? Happy Friday, everybody's favorite day of the week. Why is that? Well, not because it's the end of the work week, no, because you come back here for now, week 35? Match day 35. We've gone through so many of these already. Man, I can't believe we're getting to the end of the season now. Obviously, only 2 games remaining. Before we get into all of those and what that entails, though, we have to go through the unfortunate piece of recapping what we saw on Saturday. So, obviously, not a very good game. Well, started well, right? Game comes on. We're wearing those beautiful, sexy Heritage Kit, Lightning Kit jerseys. Zaha gets a breakaway, absolutely jukes the goalie, scores a goal, 1-0. We think we're going to go win 3-4-0. And then the rest of the game happens. So, about minute 20, Melanda slides in late. They call a foul originally, but then after VAR, they did go back and check. It was a red card. I thought it was a red card immediately on the field when we were watching, and I think we all agree it probably was, right?
I don't know if he denied a scoring opportunity, though, but I mean, if that's the reason why they gave him a red card, I'm not sure if I agree with that being the reason.
Sure.
But because I don't really see where it was a legitimate goal scoring opportunity, but
it was close. I thought it was live, and then, like I said, I don't know if they even showed the replay, but in any case, it was a red card. That part's non-negotiable, unfortunately. Down to 10 men, and just weren't able to get into the game after that. They, in my opinion anyway, kind of kept us pinned in. Shots were 18-6 by the end of it, right? So they were really peppering it away. We were not. Finished 4-1 was the final score. Wasn't as bad as the score line, right? I mean, it did feel like we were still kind of competitive. It was 2-1 for the longest time, or at least 1-1 right there at halftime. I don't know, we couldn't get anything going. They scored a couple late goals to make it even worse. I think we were talking about it before jumping on. It was probably second, third. I mean, it was definitely a top 3 worst feeling in the stadium so far this year. Unfortunate time as well, kind of closing in on the end of the season, going against literally the last place team, at least at that point of the season in Montreal. So, guys, hate to be Debbie Downer to start the show, but what were your thoughts and anything to kind of add to what I?
Oh, brutal loss.
Yeah.
Right? Felt like one we needed at home
Very
against
much.
one of the worst teams. I think we only lose that game if we go down a player. So we got to flush it and move on. But I was frustrated in the stadium. The fans were. I think it might have been the only game that I've ever left early.
Yeah, I broke my hat, actually. I had to kind of fix it. I was like slamming it up against the stands and kind of broke it, but whatever.
Yeah, just disappointing. Got to move on, though.
Yeah, on the next week, as Bill Belichick used to say. But.
Yeah, disappointing doesn't quite give it the emotion that it brought from inside the core. It was a lot more than disappointing.
Yes.
To me, we went down 10 men, but at this point in the season, like, you got to find something inside that makes you say, we're at home, we aren't going to let this beat us.
Yeah.
And I just
we were up 1 goal at that time.
Yeah, I just feel like, I don't know, it just, the entire night just didn't feel right after the red card. It just seemed like players weren't really, they were just kind of like, oh, well, I mean, we're not going to win. But you can't do that this late in the season.
Yeah.
Like, we got to move on. And now, I mean, that makes these last 2 games even more crucial. So they better figure it out, because I can see this going one of 2 ways. Do we have another mini losing streak like we did back in May and June? Because that's what Saturday felt like. Like, we were like on the way of like, oh gosh, don't do it again.
Not. Yeah.
Because it felt kind of like the Kansas Sporting, whatever, Kansas City game. When we were up and then all of a sudden we lose the game, like how that in like extra time. And that, I think, just that could have been that game that kind of could have switched the momentum for us, like broke that losing streak. So I think now we're in this point. We were like at the top of the top. We're talking maybe supporter shield.
Yep.
And now it's like we've lost our last. And we came off of a 3-0 win against Miami. Like, things are going great. And then, it's just like the NYCFC game happens, and then Saturday night happens. I mean, we got to turn it around. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, 9-game winning streak. We're all, if we can win these out, right? Maybe supporter shields in the cards, and losing to NYCFC, I think we all kind of had the same feeling. It's a weird stadium, right. Weird game time, right? Whatever you can chalk it up to, and again, you play enough games, you're just going to lose one. But yeah, this one felt like an absolute have to have, just based on where the standings were, right? And uh, at home, and the precursor, I should have known, getting to the stadium this game. So obviously they were calling for rain. I was prepared for rain. However, I park, and I usually park about 10 minutes from the stadium, give or take, with my walk, and it dumped buckets for the 10-minute stretch that I had to walk to the stadium. It didn't rain the rest of the night, and I did think to myself, I didn't say it out loud because I didn't want to bring it into existence, but I do think that clearly was just a precursor to what was going to happen. I mean, it wasn't buckets on us necessarily like it was me in that situation, but yeah, just rain poured on us, and now it's pouring on Charlotte figuratively, right?
Right.
Well, we
So
got there late, and there was a nice rainbow that was occurring. So I was
Yeah,
like,
it's really
"This is a
good.
good
Yeah,
sign.
cool. Yeah,
I'm feeling good about this." And
perspective is everything. Yeah, it was. So maybe I should have brought that to light, and maybe it worked through those demons. I don't know, but in any case, yeah, terrible loss. 4-1. Montreal wins. Uh, like you said, Brian, no, on the next week. That's all we can focus on, right? We can't sit here and dwell on what happened then. So on
costly
to the
though,
next week.
right? I mean,
Very costly. We're going to get into that in a second. Speaking of, kind of a little housekeeping for everybody. I know we're going to everybody's favorite section next, Charlotte for the week. You know it's next because you watch every week. Well, we are going to skip that one for this week just because not a lot of like new news. What is new news, I'll bring up kind of later in the preview. But we're going to do around the league, and then we're going to do something a little different with the playoffs coming up. So, Amy, I guess first and foremost, let's start with the West standings, and then we'll go from there.
So around the league out west, we had San Diego unable to score a goal against San Jose. So San Jose gets the 1-0 win over San Diego. So maybe that happy underdog first year story
Gabby's
for
not going to be happy about
San
that one.
Diego is
Yeah,
not
yeah, kind of.
in the cards that much
Yeah,
now. But we'll see. And then Seattle and Vancouver, they drew 2-2. Vancouver also drew on Wednesday against Portland, so Vancouver's up
okay,
there in the standings. But two draws only get you 2 points versus six, so that could potentially play into where they end up in the West.
interesting. Okay, and what about the East?
yeah, and a couple notable games in the East. Toronto draws with Inter Miami 1-1. It's a bit surprising. That's a good
Yeah,
result for us.
yeah, cracked my neck a little on that. That's good.
Yeah. DC United, who we play next, got
Yeah.
hammered by Philadelphia 6-0. Hopefully, DC United is kind of packing it in for the season, but we'll see.
Was that game at Philly or DC?
No, that was at DC. Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
wow, home game.
Next game was New York Red Bulls 2 and NYCFC 3. Not a great result for us. I think NYCFC have now won 4 or 5, and they've left us in the standings. And then another notable game was Cincinnati 1 and Orlando 1, which is a good result for us.
Any draws at this point between those teams, I don't think
Yeah,
it's a bad
yeah,
thing,
I
right?
agree.
1 point versus 3.
And NYCFC, they're kind of on a little tear now because they were kind of the second hottest
Dude.
team to us when we
Yeah,
played
they're
them in New York, and now they're continuing
trying
to
to
win.
do the math here. They lost one game as well, didn't they? Lose to Miami.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
lost
so I
4-0
think
to
they're
Miami.
now doing the math 8-1-2 over their last 11. So yeah, obviously a very very hot team there in NYCFC. Kind of moving that into the standings. So we had mentioned San Diego and Vancouver on the West. Uh, with all of those results, those two teams are now tied. Sorry, Gabby, but they are tied at the top, and Vancouver actually has a one game in hand as well. So it certainly gives them the decided advantage over the last 2-3 games here to go ahead and win the West. Minnesota's still creeping back there as well. They're only 2 back. They don't have a game in hand, though, so they'll have to make up those 2 points one way or another against two teams. Not likely, but can't count them out. And then LAFC is the one you really want to kind of look at here. They've been on a tear as well. Obviously, adding Son to that lineup that already had Mwanga in there. They're scoring goals left and right now. They're only 4 points back, and they have 2 games in hand, right? So theoretically, that's kind of the battle on the Western side, or those 4 teams for who's going to end up ultimately on top. If I were a betting man, I am a betting man. I would say it's probably going to be Vancouver. That's who I'm going with out of those 4 teams, but we'll see. Did you have something to
I
add?
think LAFC. I think I put them in second. I think with 4 games, you have potential to get 12 points
Yeah.
in those 4 games. and they're on a tear. I mean,
They're scary. I think I would almost do 1-2 right there. I
Yeah.
hate to count San Diego and Minnesota out, but I think those are probably 1-2, and then San Diego, Minnesota. Yep.
And Sonny, he's scoring
Yeah,
goals like
Yes, he is.
every game.
Yeah,
Every game
he's been an instant impact for that team, as I figured he would be. I mean, he's one of a Premier League legend, and it's not like he's on his last leg there. I mean, I think he scored like 15 goals just last year, so the guy can put the ball in the net in this league. There's no doubt. On the East, not too much on the East because again, we got a special segment for you guys. I know you're going to be excited about that. At least I am. We did a lot of work for it. But the Eastern, the main note there, Philly needs one more win to claim the Supporter Shield at this point. Obviously, they're hammering teams. 6-0 they just beat DC by. So one more win for Philly equals the Supporter Shield. Congrats to them if that's the case. And yeah, so now for a brand new, newly minted, if you will, segment presented by Nature's Promise Water here. 2 games left in the season for Charlotte. The scenarios around us, I mean, the standings, as we just saw, are wide open. So thought it'd be a good time to kind of just break it down for you guys, right? That way you don't have to yourself, so you can kind of understand a little bit more about the playoff scenario, what Charlotte has to do, or more, I guess, accurately, what the other teams don't need to do in order for Charlotte to finish as high as they possibly can in the standings. So this is, again, probably one time only, but maybe we'll bring it back next week. I don't know, but playoff scenario section. Amy, take it away.
So as we get into the different teams and where they place and how we see them possibly their playoff positions, we aren't going to cover Philly because, like Mark said, they only need one game. They clinch supporters, one win, and they clinch
Good note.
supporters.
Yes, yeah, they're already too far ahead for
Right.
us to catch them, so no need to bring up them.
So when you look at the MLS tiebreaker process, the first thing that you do is you look at points per game. If both the teams have played an unequal number of games, the team with the most points per game ranks higher. So that's what they look at first, their total points, then their total number of wins. So the team with the greater number of wins in all matches is ranked higher. So that's your second tiebreaker. After that, you get into goal differential. The difference between their goals scored and goals conceded determines your next ranking. And we don't in the scenarios we looked at, we don't really think we'll go past goal differential. But if for some reason you would have to, the next thing is you go for the goals for. The team with more goals scored in the entire season ranks higher. And then finally, which we hope Charlotte never gets to this point in a tiebreaker, is disciplinary points. A team with a lower total of disciplinary points is ranked higher, which would most likely not ever be in Charlotte FC favor. Hence, we have our players missing this week.
Guys, you want a pickup line? Just go to the bar and tell them about detailed playoff MLS breakdown scenarios right here. That was so nice to hear. And so, with all that said, yeah, Amy, where do we stand? I guess when it comes to Cincinnati, we'll just kind of start at the top. Again, second place is as high as we can finish, so that's where we'll kind of start this, and then just kind of go through all the spots we can end up finishing for the playoffs.
So Cincinnati sits currently in second place with a record of 18 wins, 5 draws, 9 losses. That gives them 59 points, 6 points ahead of where Charlotte currently stands. They have 2 games remaining, so they have the same amount of games remaining as Charlotte. However, in order for us to catch Cincinnati, they have to lose both of their games. They play at Red Bulls, and then they have I'm guessing their last match at home versus Montreal. So they would have to lose both of those. And Charlotte, of course, would have to win our last 2. If that happens, if we win out, they lose their remaining 2. Charlotte will end up ahead of Cincinnati. However, we aren't real sure where that would be in the playoff spot.
Correct. Okay. And then, Brian, what about third place NYCFC?
So we got NYCFC with 56 points, 3 points ahead of us with a +2 goal differential. Again, they've won 4 of the last 5, so they've been on a bit of a tear. They also have 2 games remaining like we do. And for us to finish in front of them, they can only win one of the 2 of those. Their 2 opponents are good opponents.
They are.
At Philly coming up, and then home against Seattle, a good West opponent, but playing on Yankee Stadium or in Yankee Stadium.
coming across
That's
the country as well. Who
Yeah,
knows?
so-
But those are two losable games.
I
Sure.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And we finish ahead of them if we win out and they lose one of the 2 games that they have less.
Okay, cool.
Or I guess even a win and a tie.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of, just for sake of you guys, so you don't get too confused, I assume we're winning all 2 games in all of these scenarios, right? That's just kind of where we're going to be at with it. We know that may or may not happen, but right, just humor me,
We're
right?
winning
We're
out.
winning 2 games out. That's how all of these assumptions are being made. Moving on to 4th place, Miami. Who they sit at 16, 8, and 6. That's 56 points. Very confusing here because they actually have 4 games still remaining. Most teams have 2 at this point, so they have 2 games in hand. 3 points ahead of Charlotte on the point total there. Really, they can only win 1 more game. Obviously, they could probably draw 3 and lose 1 as well, however you want to do that math, right? But they can only get 3 total more points out of a 12 possible point scenario, right, for them. So if we're being honest, a little bit unlikely that that's going to happen. Their opponents, they play Chicago tonight, actually, in a few minutes from now. They play also, well, they got 3 home games in a row here, right? So Chicago, then versus New England, then versus Atlanta. And then they do finish the season at Nashville. So only 3 points can be had from those 4 games. Hey, better things have happened. I don't know. We'll see. We don't know. But anyway, we'll move
That
on.
Nashville game could be pretty interesting at the end of the season on decision day, with Miami probably going to finish ahead of Nashville. But what will happen to Nashville? Where's Nashville going to end up? So, like we
Well,
said,
tell us.
yeah, I will. But before we move to Nashville, because they're currently in 6th, we just want to remind you Charlotte is currently in 5th place. So we're not going to talk about them because the whole show's about them. We'll get more into that in a little bit. But that decision day game against Miami could be a pretty big one for Nashville. They're tied exactly with Charlotte. However, we hold the tiebreaker because we have more wins. Nashville has 16. There's 16 wins, 5 draws, and 11 losses. We currently have 17 wins, so there's no way they can catch our win total if we both win out. So basically, all that to be said, we just have to match what Nashville does or beat what they do. So, but we want to win. So if we win and they win, it doesn't matter. They're not finishing ahead of us. And they have to go to Montreal. And then again, like we said, that decision day match against Miami.
Then in 7th place, we have Orlando City with 52 points, just 1 point behind us. And they have 3 games remaining, which makes me a little bit nervous.
That is, I was looking at it.
They've got a couple of tough opponents. They play Columbus at home and Vancouver at home, and then they finish the season at Toronto. The one thing I did note is they don't have a bye week like a lot of teams between that decision day. So they play 3 weeks in a row. I don't know how much impact that has, but it may have some. But I'm a little bit concerned about Orlando City.
Yeah, sitting there with 1 point behind them with an extra game, that is a little nerve wracking. But yeah, those first 2 opponents are very, very losable. I mean, and Toronto obviously just went and tied. Who did they just tie? Miami, right? Granted, last
and
game.
Columbus and Orlando City, that'll be a good game between them. Potential.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Spot determining.
Yeah.
So tell us a little more.
There you go. What a segue. So 8th place is Columbus. As we just mentioned, Orlando City and Columbus will be playing next. I guess that's this weekend. So big game for us to kind of keep up with. Columbus is sitting in 8th place with 50 points, which is, of course, 3 behind Charlotte. They have 2 games remaining, just like Charlotte. So, again, pretty simple scenario in terms of Charlotte. When we win our last 2 games, we will finish ahead of Columbus. No questions asked. That's the place we like to be. They do, again, Orlando City this week is who they play, and then that is away. And then they play home against New York Red Bull to finish the season.
It's shocking to me that that Columbus is.
They fell so far. Yeah. They had a similar slide the Charlotte had, except they're just happening at the end of the season. I mean, they only have like 1 win in their last month. Yeah. They have a lot of draws, but they just cannot get over the hump. So is what it is.
So then going on to Chicago, they're in that play-in game space, the 8th and 9th, that play in the play-in game. They have 14 wins, 6 draws, 11 losses. They're currently sitting at 48 points. Like we said, they are playing Inter Miami tonight. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but we probably would love a draw But
I think
you know
that's
what?
option A.
Yes, but if we had to pick a winner out of this, we kind of want Inter Miami because, like we said, catching Inter Miami is going to probably be hard for Charlotte with the amount of games
Hard to
Miami
imagine
has
they don't
in
win
hand.
2 of those.
So let's have Chicago go ahead and lose some of these and just get them out of like
Our
our
hair.
hair, and then so Chicago catching us or us falling behind from Chicago. If we went out, not very likely at all.
Oh, solid, guys. I feel like we need the y'all see that thing the NFL does? I forget the guy's name. I love the guy. Shout him out. Suit, kind of slick back hair guy that has like the NBC like percentage chance to make the playoffs or whatever. I would love to be able to do that. I don't know what our FPI or whatever would be in that, but yeah, shout him out. And that's pretty much what that segment was derived from. So appreciate that.
Maybe you should just remind the folks out there where we currently sit.
Yeah, so
Could do that.
So we sit in 5th place with 53 points, and we have 2 games remaining. We are away at DC this weekend, and then we finish up on decision day against Philadelphia Union at home.
Hopefully they've already clinched the
right.
supporters.
Maybe
shield.
resting some players, or
Yeah.
something like that.
That'd be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. It kind of occurred to me as we were chatting that to get a top 4 position, we no longer have like complete control of it. We need some help. So we'll be watching the NYCFC game because I really think that's the team that we're going to have to fight for that 4th position with.
Where do we finish?
Ooh.
Based on all of this expert knowledge that we just gave to the crowd and to ourselves.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to say we finished 4th still. I really feel like we can get that game in DC. We've got some adversity in front of us, but I mean, if we're going to be a legitimate playoff team, this is a game we've got to win, and we can beat anyone at home. Yes. And I think that Philadelphia at home game is going to be electric.
Yes.
So we got to take care of business this weekend at DC, and then everything to play for against Philadelphia.
So then you would say, just based on Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Miami, and then Charlotte is kind of, or you think NYCFC is the one that had that?
So I'm gonna go. I think Philadelphia finishes 1st.
I agree.
And then we got Inter Miami 2nd.
Okay.
Cincy 3rd, and then Charlotte FC 4th.
Okay, same 4 teams then. Yeah. I get you. What about you, Amy?
I kind of agree with Brian. I have Cincinnati though staying in 2nd. I think. Actually, no. With Miami's game in hands and who they're playing, I think Miami ends up in 2nd place. Okay. Cincy in 3rd. I also think we will get back to 4th, and I see NYCFC probably finishing in 5th. So I really do think that's who we need to watch. I think they're going to have a hard time winning at Philly. Hopefully Philly goes to like clinch Supporters Shield this weekend. And then Seattle might win, but all we need is if NYCFC loses and like we said, Charlotte wins out, we're going to finish ahead of them. So we're just going to bank on the fact that they lose at Philly this weekend, and we're going to finish in 4th, and they'll be sitting in 5th.
Ditto, right? I don't have much more to add. That's exactly kind of where I was. That's you know, I think it does come down to the Charlotte NYCFC for that 4-5. Sounds like that may be who we end up playing there in the 1st round regardless, which means we have to go back to that baseball field at one point. Let's make it once, not twice, right? So, I agree, though, right? So Philadelphia is going to win the East or win the Supporter Shield, the whole thing at this point. I do agree that Miami goes ahead and jumps up to 2nd, just, again, based on the amount of games, the opponents they have. Cincy falls in there at 3rd. And then, yes, we win our last 2 games. NYCFC loses one of those games, again, preferably to Philadelphia this coming week. And then we can finish right there in that top 4 where through all the trials and tribulations, that's where we wanted to be, right? And that's where we can get. So I agree. This actually made me feel better. I've been kind of dreading it all week as far as where we might finish.
We took a bad week and kind of brought the rainbow back. We took your downpour and brought back the rainbow. I do have a question,
That's what friends are for.
Red Bulls, they're sitting currently 43 points. Do they have, I mean, they would have to have a lot of help and win out to be able to get to that 9th position, I feel like.
Red Bulls or Chicago?
And the Red Bulls. I'm just trying to see, are we pretty much, we have our playoff teams. We're just trying to figure out where everyone ends up jostling for a position.
Oh, I got you. I don't think Red Bull.
They could make the play in, I think.
Yeah,
big
yeah.
game.
Right. So the play-in basically is going to come down between Chicago and Red Bulls, but most
Or
likely,
Columbus.
Right,
Yeah,
but
they
I
fall
mean,
there.
those are our three teams that are like vying for play-in, with the Red Bulls having an outside chance, only having 43 points right now.
I'll
So
agree overall. Well, that was a fun little segment. Hope you all got to follow along with that pretty well. Yeah, maybe this time next year we have all those boards where we can give you the percentages and stuff like that. We'll see budgets and everything. And then, kind of moving it on, last segment, best segment, the one that kind of started it all is the match day preview. This week, Charlotte faces another last place team. So, by virtue of Montreal winning and beating Charlotte last week, they moved up to, I think, 13th, actually moved up 2 spots. And now DC claims that last spot, and DC is the opponent this week. It is on the road, which we know about some of the struggles we've had over there. But again, a last place team. Uh, Mark, you didn't do the Charlotte news for the week. Like, how am I supposed to know what happened? Well, shut up. Yes, we did. We're just putting it right here because the only real news this week, unfortunately, is suspensions. Right. So we mentioned the red card in the recap piece of the video. That does mean Malanda. He was the one that got a Dilson Malanda will be suspended for this week. Also, we got a couple yellow cards in the game. Brent Bronico and Ashley Westwood, our captain, second time for him. Both of those players, by virtue of the amount of yellow cards they got, are also suspended for this game. So 3 very important pieces out in a very crucial game for Charlotte. Because of that, we again wanted to change this up again as well. Hey, it's always mundane. No, it isn't. We change up the things every once in a while. So with 3 players being out, we thought it'd be fun to kind of give our ideal lineup for the week and how do we exploit DC. And so that's what we're going to do. I don't know who wants to start. We hadn't really gone over this too much, so we're just
I'll start.
okay. There we go. We'll start it with Amy and see where she's at.
So I was kind of like surprised because it seems like Westy just
Yeah, I was
out
shocked.
a game for what I thought was yellow card accumulation.
It was
but
same thing. Yeah,
I don't know. So I was like, oh my gosh, again already. It doesn't surprise me because Westwood and Veronica pretty much pick up a yellow card every game. So it doesn't matter. I mean,
he's the only one that can talk to the ref, so it's kind of like a little bit. Yeah,
yeah, you
anyway,
should get a little
bit more leeway. I thought.
Right. So I just was like, you know what? We had 2 games we've lost. You know how I feel about certain players that ride the bench. I will find any way to not have that boy start in the game. So I'm just like, guess what, guys? We're going to change it all up. We're changing up formations. We're going to go with the 4-4-2.
4-4-2. So 4 at the back, 4 midfielders, 2 up front for you guys.
And of course, I'm keeping Kalina in the goal. My back line, I have Marshall Ruddy on the left, Tim Ream, and Bill in the middle. So I think Big Bill comes in and takes Milana's spot rather than Privet.
Okay.
Privet, like, he seems to have gotten better since that losing skid, but I still am not. When he's back there, I'm always like, but Big Bill, I know he's had the hammy, so maybe, but I think one of those 2 guys fill in for Milana. And then, of course, Byrne on the right. So then going to my midfield, I have 4 in the midfield. I see us playing more as a box or like a rotating box, a little diamond. Okay. I have Diani playing basically in the 6. He's like gonna take what Westwood's there. And then I have kind of a Zaha on the left with BL if he's playing kind of like a top of the midfield or middle, and then Vargas on the right. I mean, if you want to do a flat midfield, it would be a Vargas, BL, Zaha, BL, Diani, Vargas. And then depending on which side of the pitch has the attack going, that player would either. I just think dropping Zaha back a little bit, I mean, he can see the field so well. He always comes back. Both Vargas and Zaha do a great job coming back anyway. So I was like, let's just drop him back. Let them feed the ball to my starting 2 up top. Okay. I'm just going with 2. And I'm going with our goal scorers. Got to go with Toke. And then I'm getting my boy down under. Put him in. Give him his 90. Let him score his goals. That's what he came to Charlotte to do. That's what he said in his presser. Let Archie go out there. Let him find the net. Cook. And let him cook. Let Zaha find him on the cross. Let Vargas find him on the cross. I just think, why not switch it up? With those 2 guys, the speed that they both have, I mean, I don't care what you put in front of them. I think they'll find the net. They both love to use their heads. So that's where I went when the 4-4-2.
That would be fun to watch. I would love to see that kind of 2 up top. Yeah, no doubt about that. I'll pass it off to you. I'll kind of bring us up here, because I'll let you go next.
Okay, I have a completely different lineup than
Mine's
you,
different too. Trust me. Yeah,
but we'll see.
I feel a little unimaginative now based on mine, but that's all right. But anyway,
So I think, I mean, the easiest place to start is, well, they're going to go with a 4-4-3 or 4-3-3 rather. Easiest place to start is the forward line. I don't think it changes. I think we got Zaha, Toglamati, and Vargas. We've been rolling with those guys. We're going to keep rolling for them. It gets a little tricky in the midfield. All of a sudden, I feel like we're we're a little light there,
yes,
losing Westwood, and Pepiel's been hurt. So what are we going to do there? And then so I'm going to go with Williamson, Gianni, and I think if Pep's good to go, I think we'll see 60 minutes from him.
yep.
If he's not good to go, then I think we see Amy's favorite player, Nikola Pekovic.
Petkovic.
We saw a little appearance from him at
Look at
the
his
end of
face.
last year, so Amy's excited to hear that, I'm sure. And then the back line, Burns has been playing a lot on the left. I think he stays on the left. Ream is a lock at left center back. And then my question is either we're going to have Big Bill or Privet. We've seen Big Bill a lot, but Privet's got a lot of experience. So I'm going to go Privet and then Marshall Ruddy on the right.
Okay. Not bad. Yeah, like I said, I was completely different too. I changed my lineup a little bit. I don't know that we switched from the 4-3-3, but I was having the same thing: Privet, Tuiloma, Privet, Tuiloma. Why not both? Right. So of course I've got Kalina in the back. I've got kind of Privet as that sweeper, but kind of more of a three back with some wings on the sides. Right.
Okay.
So Privet there in the middle, Tuiloma and Reem on either side of him. Marshall Ruddy and Byrne on either side of them, playing that kind of, attacking a little bit more wing back position. Yep. Of course, Gianni in the middle. I think that's the only player that makes sense in that position right now as a 6. If Pep plays, then yes. I don't know that he fits this perfectly. Maybe I would change it a little bit, but assuming Pep plays, he would hold that other midfield position for me. But if he doesn't,
You getting a debut?
are we going to get a
You
debut from
want a debut?
Koulibaly? Are we going to get a debut
Koulibaly,
from
wow.
Koulibaly in there? That's what I have written down right here. I think, hey, give him some time, right? I mean, I maybe he would be better to bring in as a sub, but again, if that's what he is here for, right? I think if we play a position like this, he's known to be a 6, right? You really want 2 6s when you have kind of that 5-back lineup, in my opinion. I think he would be a very good fit to make his debut in this particular game. And of course, nothing changes up top, right? Zaha, Tote, and Vargas going left or right there. If it ain't broke, don't fix it there, right? So I think that's a pretty much a given. But yeah, well, if again Pep's not there, yeah, I don't want to see Petkovic on the field neither.
Me
I'm
either.
kind of
So
with
I'm
you.
kind
I'm
of
not
like
against him,
I'm
but
like
I mean, why not see this Koulibaly?
yeah, and like from the times that we've been to decent legacy matches, if you put Pekovic and Koulibaly both on the pitch at the same time, Koulibaly is hands down a better, more exciting, sees the pitch better. I mean, I just think he's, if you want a dynamic 6, Koulibaly's your person.
And that's
Pekovic, I mean, he just doesn't do it for me, obviously.
That's where I'm at. And again, that does depend on Pep. Again, if Pep plays, I doubt they do this, kind of 5-back, because he's not really suited for that 6 as much as he is more of an 8, or even maybe they move him out, and Vargas can even go back to a wing back at that position. Who knows? But
What about this scenario for our midfield? What if we pull Zaha in the middle and play attacking mid? We've seen him there before,
we have
and we bring our other DP off the bench to start.
and Abada,
And
yeah, Abada
so we
Bing.
would have a Vargas, Toklamati, Abada as the forwards, and
It's
then
a move. Zaha can definitely do it. When he played in the middle, in my opinion, his teammates were not that great at finding him to be able to then in turn find his teammates. I don't know if that was just a, lack of cohesion type deal there. I thought it felt broken to me when they did that. Oh, yeah.
why? Here's a question for y'all: why is our DP player? None of us had him in the starting lineup, and we
Well,
have 3 starters out. Why is that the case?
yeah, and it wasn't much of a thought neither, to be honest.
Right,
Like,
right.
I mean, his name came across, and I was like, we'll bring him. Listen, I like Abada for what he is. I think we've all learned that he is, again, I've called him this all year, my Sour Patch Kid, right? He's sour and then he's sweet. I love him coming off the bench in any scenario, right? I mean, you don't want to pay a DP to do that. Yes, we know that. We've documented that. But I think we've learned what he is for this team. And he is, when he comes in for that 20, 25 minutes at the end and he has those fresh legs, he is making things happen, right? And I just, anytime he's in the starting lineup, it's like he gets either forgotten or no, you didn't get forgotten. You just make stupid mistakes that cost goals, right? And we know that we're going to get the work rate from Vargas on that side. I just,
He didn't score in a hot minute.
yeah, yeah. Well, he hasn't, but I can't throw him in there. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm gonna say I like that, but I'm not putting Abada. I'm still putting Archie in there, and I'm saying maybe don't pull Zaha into the middle. Just let Zaha play a left midi because
He's
he
good
can
there.
still he could and make it more of like, you would kind of sit back into like a 10, but you would be more on your left side, which is the side you're naturally better at. And then just, you know what, BL, if you aren't ready, then we'll bring you in off the bench. And we'll just have a Zaha Diani Vargas and then have Archie Tote Vargas up top. And then you can have your
Zaha coming in between, be that number 10.
Yes.
A lot of interesting stuff. I mean, this was probably my favorite segment so far, just to kind of talk through. I love talking this part of the game. Obviously, we don't know. Dean's the only one that probably knows at this point, and maybe he doesn't. He's got to probably see how Pep trains this week, and
he always says.
yes, we will see. None of us also had Tifolo. Of course, we assume he's probably still injured for this game. If he's healthy, that significantly changes it because I'm sure they would want to get him into that game at that point. But a lot of options. Not ones we want to have to choose with only 2 games to go. We would rather go with the 11 that we feel is tried and true. But I, for one, would be pretty excited to see Koulibaly on the field if they did.
I do think it's maybe a chance that we see some guys we hadn't seen in a while, some young guys. There's going to be space and coming off the bench for sure. So it'll be
100%.
interesting.
We'll see. Dogs are telling us it's time to eat, so we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here, and then we'll be right back with our prediction.
A few moments later.
All right, and of course that takes us to the last little bit here, our predictions for the week. That was a very fun segment, so I'm interested. There might be a wide variance in these predictions based on that. I'll, as always, kind of start first here. Pretty mundane scoreline for me in this one. I'm gonna go 2-1 Charlotte. Pretty much, par for the course goal scorers as well. But this is the part of the season where you need these players to step up. So I got Zaha scoring. I got Toke scoring with that back five. Like I said, I think it'll be a little bit more defensive minded type game. Those are my 2 scores for the game.
I'm gonna say 3-1. I do think just because of us not having Melanda, DC finds a way to get a goal.
Same. Yeah, that's where I was.
Unfortunately, I'd love to see a Kalina sheet, but I think they get a goal.
Yeah, no.
And I'm going with my 3 goal scorers are going to be Toke, and I'm going to go with. I really
you
want
better
this.
Put him in there.
I am putting him in there. I just can't decide if I want to give him just one or the brace.
Oh, okay, do it.
If he starts, I think Archie could get a brace. If he just comes in off the bench, hopefully he'll come in before the 80th minute. Thank you, Dino. Please make a sub like around 65, 70. I definitely think Archie gets 1, potentially 2 if he gets the start. If not, I'm going Toke, Archie, and Zaha.
Okay, I like that.
We have a good record against DC. We beat them 5 times, 2 draws, and 3 losses. So I think we get the win. I'm going 2-0.
Okay.
I think we'll play pretty defensive. But my goal scorers are Zaha, big players score big goals, and we got Tokomati.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. I mean, those, like I said, Toke hadn't scored in 2 games now, which just feels like, what's going on, right? I mean, he's, obviously our leading, goals per 90 of all time in the history of the club, right? So I feel very confident that he can get on the score sheet this week. And yeah, Zaha, like you said, big players make big plays in big games. This is a big game for Charlotte. They got to have it, obviously, if we want to be where we want to be at the end of the season. So I think we're all on the same page there. But shout out Archie. I want to see him on the score line
And again,
as well.
our big player DP sits the bench, and we don't have him as
Didn't
a goal
even
scorer.
mention Abada one time.
Coming in off the bench.
Yeah, I
I
think.
don't think so.
Yeah, I do think he comes in off the bench. Depending on how the game's going, right? If we're up a couple goals, probably not. But if it's a tight game, I do think Abada comes in off the bench, and he's made an impact when he's come in off the bench. Not necessarily scoring the goals, but he is kind of leading to some goals. He had that penalty that led to the Toklamati goal in the one, right? So we want to see good things from you. We do, but I'm just not super confident that it will.
If anybody needs a goal, he needs one.
That is very
Bad.
true. Yeah, for anything. Well, I think that wraps it up, guys. I mean, anything
Puts a
else?
bow on it.
Puts a bow on it. Puts a crown
Puts a
on it.
crown on
Yeah,
it.
there you go. That's everything for the show today. Appreciate everybody for watching. Like, subscribe as always. It's for the crown.